Hey guys, this is the Suburban Hippie Experimentalist showing you how to replace the bearings on your 350 QX. Hey guys, as you know, I've had problems with my brand new Blade 350 QX, like many people do, with noisy motor bearings. So Blade was nice enough at first to send me two brand new motors to replace the ones in pods 2 and 3. And that was great when I got them. But right after I replaced these two, and these motors quieted down, number 4 got intermittently noisy. And it sounds a little like a Cuisinart or a food processor when I run the quad, when I look at the videos. So I ordered this ceramic set of motor bearings from Boca Bearings, and I'm going to put them in, and hopefully that's going to quiet it down. So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is going to be my first time, so we're going to learn together. So I'm going to show you how to do it first on the old motor that I have. I assume there's nothing wrong with this besides bad bearings. So I'm going to do it first on this motor, and then I'm going to show you how to take apart the motor that's in here and take this out of here. So I'll show you all the steps and we'll do it together. Okay, so the first thing you have to do, if you look at the motor, is you have to take that little circlip off of there. Hopefully you can see that. It's right here. It's right at the bottom of the motor. Okay, you're going to have to take this circlip off, and then there's two little bushings in there you're going to take off, and this whole thing should slide apart. So I don't know if you want to take my advice or not, but that circlip is pretty tiny. So what I'm going to do on mine is I'm going to do it inside of a glass bowl sideways, in hopes that if it springs off and it flies somewhere, it's going to hit the side of the bowl and bounce in there. Because imagine finding that little dinky circlip on your carpet. So we're going to do that first. Okay, so what I'm going to use to get that little circlip off is a little flathead screwdriver. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a space here and here, and it's there so you can stick a flathead in there and pry this circlip off. So I'm going to stick it down in the bowl, and I'm going to try to pry that off, and hopefully it doesn't go flying across the room. So wish me a little bit of luck here. Hopefully the glass bowl will catch it. And I got it. Okay, now that I have that circlip off, I have to get the motor apart. And you've got magnets in there, so it's a little bit of force fighting you when you pull this motor apart. So let's make sure we don't put our fingers on those little covered wires in there. There's that magnet wire. So I'm going to grab it here by the base and by the top, and there we go. I just pulled it apart. Okay, now you can see that there's a bearing at each end here. The shaft will go through there, so you need to replace both of those. And they're pressed in there. They're not just loosely put in there. So when I'm done talking, I'm going to put this whole contraption in the freezer so that the metal contracts and I can get those out of there. You're going to need something serious to pound in there with a hammer. An Allen wrench or a bolt or something probably won't do it. So I've got this pin punch that I bought a long time ago, and I'm going to put it in there like this, and I'm going to hammer that around from the other side, a little on each part of the bearing here. So I'm going to use my hammer, and I'll pound that punch. I'll show you when I get around to it. But you're also going to need something for this to set on. I've got these two pieces of wood. I'm going to do this end first, because there's nothing really to damage here as I get that out of there. And so you want to make the boards just far enough apart so that they're far enough that they're a little wider than this bearing on each side. But you want to be able to set your innards of your motor down there firmly, your windings, excuse me. And you have to be careful. I was pounding on this a little and I actually damaged it. I don't know if you can see, but the windings here, if you're setting this on something that's hard when you're pounding it, say you're trying to pound this bearing out, you can squish those windings. Okay, now that the first side is out, we're going to try this side. Use my bigger punch here. And for this one I put it right in the middle. Probably be a good idea to make a jig if you're going to do this. There. Okay, so it's out and I didn't damage the windings on this one. I'll get my other camera and I'll show you a close-up look. Okay, so on this one the windings look fine. I didn't smash them. Okay, so that stator has been in the freezer for a little while. Excuse me. So let's see if we can get these bearings in there. They weren't easy to get out. They, I understand some of them are, they'll come out with your fingers. That's not the case with these guys. Let me get a bearing. Okay, and I'm going to do this one first. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which order you do them in. But I'm going to try this end first. Okay, sorry I had to look for my flathead. So I'm going to take my flathead, I'm going to push that circlip on there. Now, for this part, you might also want to do this in that salad bowl, because more often than you might think, that little clip, circlip, comes flying out of there and you lose it. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully you saw that. It's on there. Okay, first I'm going to take the prop off. So to do that, I'm using a 5/64 Allen wrench, and I'm going to use the part that's not the ball because I can get a little bit better purchase on it. Okay, next I'm going to take these 4 bolts out of the bottom here. 1, 2, 3, 4. While it's still together. You want to do this while the craft is still together, because when the top is off of this, it is extremely flexible. So you want to have something nice and solid. Okay, so now that I have all 4 of these Allen bolts out of there, you can see the motor's loose. I need to get to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all these other Allen screws out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that I can pull that arm apart, and then I can slide the motor out. I'll show you that. 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench. So these little bolts here are easy to take out because they're screwed right into plastic. So I'm going to take all these out, and then I'm going to pull that apart. Okay, now that I have these screws taken out, I'm just going to gently pry up on this. I'm going to pull this motor out so that I can get at those where it's plugged in. So there's a red, black, and blue wire, so I'm just going to reach in there and I'll pull it apart. Okay, so now I'm just going to take my new motor, and I'm going to, of course, match the colors. Black to black, red to red, blue to blue. And then I'm going to just slide it back in there, and I'm going to bolt it back together. And hope that that fixed the problem. Boca Bearings says on their site that ceramic bearings run cooler and that they're capable of higher RPMs. I just want to show you and be clear about this, because this is a little important. When you put those motors back in, there are little plastic pins that stick up in there, and you want to make sure that your motors line up with those pins and fit in there nice and flush, and it should be easy to put them in there. It's not tough, so if you think you have to force that down, you haven't aligned it correctly. So just be very careful when you put that in there. Okay, I recommend that once you get that motor lined up in there, before you start feeding your wires back in there, you feed one of these bolts back in there, because when you're moving those little wires around, it's going to move the motor. Okay guys, I just replaced the bearings in motor number 4, pod number 4, with Boca ceramic bearings. So I just wanted to go ahead and show you that the craft runs and flies and everything's good. So it's cold outside, it's 16 degrees and going down, and it's also night, so I don't feel like flying it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start it up here, and I'm going to hover it for a few seconds, and then I'm going to set it back down just so you can see that everything's right and as it should be. So here we go. As I said, GPS is off.